He should never have kissed her like that. That was the thought that crashed into me the moment the crowd went wild. Not when the announcer declared us the winners. Not when someone pressed a gift card into my palm. Not even when my 7-year-old daughter came sprinting toward the stage, screaming my name at the top of her lungs. No, it hit me the instant Nora pulled back and looked at me the way someone looks when the floor drops out from under them. Her lips were still inches from mine, her breath still warm against my face. And that's when the truth slammed into me like cold water. That kiss had not been part of any contest. It had been real, terrifyingly, undeniably real. For 6 minutes and 43 seconds, I had forgotten the crowd, forgotten the stage, forgotten the carefully constructed walls I had spent 4 years reinforcing around my heart. And the entire town of Cedarville had just watched me dismantle every single one of them, in front of the one woman I had no business crossing that line with. My neighbor, my friend, the woman my daughter thought hung the moon. The woman who had quietly, without fanfare or announcement, become the most essential person in our lives. Nora's gray-green eyes searched my face. She was waiting for something, an explanation. A laugh, a way to rewind the last 7 minutes, but I had nothing. Because the truth was sitting like a stone in the center of my chest. If I had just destroyed the best thing Lily and I had, I would never forgive myself. And that was how the Cedarville Spring Fair's longest kiss contest turned my entire life upside down. 1 week earlier, my life had been simple. Not particularly joyful, not especially exciting, but simple. My name is Caleb Hartley. I'm 30 years old, and on most mornings I smell like cedar shavings and wood stain. I build custom furniture in the workshop behind the house where my daughter, and I live on the quiet outskirts of Cedarville, a small lake town tucked into the pines of northern Wisconsin. It's the kind of place where the neighbors wave from their driveways and people still leave their doors unlocked. I built that house myself 4 years ago, right after Maya died. She was 27 when the accident happened. Lily was barely 3. And if I'm being honest, I don't remember much of that first year. I remember crying in the truck so Lily wouldn't see me. I remember fumbling with hair ties and burning every batch of French toast I attempted. I remember the weight of a house that had once been full of sound suddenly gone completely silent. That kind of silence doesn't just hurt, it hollows you out. So I sold everything in the city, found a cheap plot of land near Cedarville, and built a house with my bare hands. Because when grief swallows you whole, sometimes the only way to survive is to build something solid and real. Lily burst into the workshop one morning while I was running a plane across a cabinet door. "Dad!" The screen door banged into the frame hard enough to shake the pegboard behind me. I glanced over my shoulder. My daughter stood in the doorway wearing star-printed pajamas and one purple sock, her dark curls pointing in roughly 6 different directions. She looked so much like her mother that some mornings it still knocked the air right out of me. "Mrs. Patterson called," she announced, clearly proud of this information. "Yeah? She wants to know if her reading bench will be done by Thursday." "Tell her Tuesday." Lily gave a crisp, businesslike nod. Then she climbed onto the tall stool beside my bench and dropped her chin into her hands. "Also," she said, "I'm starving." "That's interesting. You're always starving." "I know. It's a medical condition." I set down my plane and dusted the shavings from my hands. "What do you want?" Her eyes lit up like I'd asked the most wonderful question in history. "Waffles. We had waffles yesterday. Yours are better than the ones at the diner." That was almost certainly untrue. But it worked. 20 minutes later, we were in the kitchen, Lily narrating the waffle-making process in a whisper like she was broadcasting a nature documentary. I was only half listening because through the kitchen window I caught movement in the yard next door. Nora Callahan was in her garden again. She was crouched beside a row of lavender, her copper-red hair twisted into a loose knot, hands working carefully through the soil. There was something peaceful about watching her, the same way there was something peaceful about watching the lake at dusk. Nora had moved into the cottage next door 3 years ago. We barely spoke at first, not because she was unwarm, but because I had made a quiet decision after Maya died. Lily didn't need someone else stepping into her life and then disappearing. So I kept things friendly, neighborly, safe, but Nora had this way about her. She never pried, never pushed, She just showed up, with zucchini bread on hard weeks, with calm patience during Lily's homework battles, with a hammer in hand when she noticed a loose board on our front steps. And slowly, without either of us drawing attention to it, she had become woven into the fabric of our days. Lily noticed before I did. "Nora's really pretty," she announced suddenly, right in the middle of waffle batter. I fumbled the spatula. "What?" "I'm just saying," she stirred innocently. "She's nice and pretty, both at the same time." I narrowed my eyes. "Where is this going?" Lily gave me the specific look she wore before every act of chaos. "Nowhere. I just think maybe you should marry her." I stared at her. "Absolutely not." "But why, Lily?" She sighed like I was the most exhausting person she had ever met. "You smile differently when she's around." I had no answer for that. "Because children see the things adults work very hard to hide. Nora is our neighbor," I said firmly. "And our friend." Lily studied my face with unsettling patience. "Okay," she said. But the way she said it made clear she didn't believe a word. A knock at the screen door interrupted us. Lily was off her stool and across the kitchen before I'd even turned around. And there was Nora. She stood on the porch holding something wrapped in a dish towel, a small, slightly apologetic smile on her face. "Morning." "I made too much lemon bread again." She lifted the bundle. "Occupational hazard," Lily gasped like she'd been handed a gift from the sky. "You're the greatest person alive." "I try," Nora said, stepping inside with the ease of someone who had crossed that threshold 100 times before. And something was different that morning. Not in any dramatic way, but the light was soft through the kitchen windows, and the way Nora laughed at Lily's wifeful commentary, the way she leaned against the counter like she belonged there, the thought crept in before I could stop it. "This feels like a family." I shoved the thought away immediately. That kind of thinking was dangerous. Lily, however, had no interest in my emotional caution. "Are we going to the spring fair this weekend?" she asked, cutting her waffle with great ceremony. "Probably." She turned to Nora with a look I recognized instantly. "You're coming too, right?" Nora smiled. "I was thinking about it." "Good." Lily set down her fork. "Because there's a kissing contest." Nora's coffee stopped halfway to her mouth. "I'm sorry?" "The longest kiss competition," Lily said pleasantly. "It's a Cedarville tradition." Nora let out a short laugh. "That sounds absolutely ridiculous." Lily tilted her head. "Maybe," then she looked slowly between the two of us. "Unless you two entered together." The room changed, not loudly. There was no dramatic music, no thunderclap. But something invisible shifted between Nora and me, the way air changes just before a storm. She went very still, her mug suspended. I stared at my daughter like she had just said we commit a minor crime. "Lily," I said carefully, "that is not happening." "Why not?" "Because normal neighbors don't enter kissing contests together." "You two already act like you're married," she said. "Mia's mom said so." Nora inhaled wrong and broke into a cough. I dragged a hand down my face. "Kiddo," I said, "some thoughts are better kept inside your own head." Lily crossed her arms. "You're both being weird," Nora recovered with a quiet laugh. "The fair will still be fun," she said gently. Lily narrowed her eyes. "That's called deflecting." "Lily, fine." She slid off her chair. "But if someone else wins, that's on you two." She disappeared down the hallway, leaving a very specific kind of silence behind her. After a moment, Nora laughed softly. "She is persistent. She gets that from her mother." Nora's expression shifted into something tender. "She talks about Maya sometimes, mostly the good stuff." I said, "She must have been wonderful." "She was." My voice came out quieter than I intended. Nora stood and brought her mug to the sink. "I should head to the library." She paused in the doorway. "Tell Lily I'll think about the fair." Lily's voice floated from somewhere in the back of the house. "I heard that. The Cedarville Spring Fair was everything a small-town fair should be. Too many smells. Too many colors, children in face paint, speakers playing country music through equipment that was probably installed before I was born." Lily was vibrating beside me from the moment we arrived. "Ring toss first," she declared. "We literally just walked through the gate. What if all the good prizes are gone?" "They do not run out of stuffed animals at county fairs." Nora, walking on Lily's other side, glanced down at her. "Your dad might actually be wrong about that one." Lily pointed at her triumphantly. See, she gets it. I watched them walk ahead of me. Lily was already explaining her theoretical prize strategy. Nora was listening like it was the most important information she'd ever received. And there it was again, that quiet, dangerous feeling, the one that whispered, "Look at this. Look at what you could have." I made myself focus on the ring toss. Lily won a stuffed sloth immediately. Nora beat us both at the rubber duck game. We shared a funnel cake while a local band played something that was either a waltz or a disaster. It was difficult to tell. For a few hours, everything was easy. Then, just after noon, Lily froze. "Oh no," I said. She pointed at the stage. An announcer had climbed up, microphone squealing. "Ladies and gentlemen," he bellowed, "it's time for Cedarville's most beloved tradition." Lily turned to us in slow motion. "The kissing contest." Nora closed her eyes. "You've got to be kidding. Couples who think they've got what it takes." The announcer continued, sweeping his arm toward the stage. "Come on up." Lily's face ignited. "Dad? No, you didn't even. I know where this is going, and the answer is no." Lily switched targets. Nora backed up a step. "I am staying completely out of this. You literally told me last month that life is about being brave." Nora blinked. "I said that in a completely different context." "You said it, though," Lily said. I wrote it down. I rubbed the back of my neck. Couples were lining up on the stage. The crowd was clapping. "This is embarrassing," I said. Nora glanced toward the stage. Then she glanced at me. There was something in her expression I couldn't quite name, half nerves, half something else. "It is embarrassing," she agreed. Then, quietly, "When's the last time we did something completely ridiculous?" My stomach dropped. "You're actually considering this," she shrugged. "Lily says you smile differently when I'm around." I opened my mouth, closed it. "It's Lily," I said. "Her name is Lily," Nora smiled. "I know." Lily had gone absolutely rigid with hope. "Are you doing it? Are you going up there?" "We are not," I started. Nora extended her hand to me. Her eyes were bright. "Come on, Caleb, live a little. There's a specific trap that gets set when you're challenged in front of your child. There is no graceful way out." "Fine," I said. Lily screamed loud enough to briefly silence the funnel cake stand beside us. Standing on that stage felt like stepping into a completely different reality. 7 other couples stood in a loose line beside us. Teenagers who thought this was hilarious. A couple in their 70s who looked like they'd been practicing since the Eisenhower administration. 2 people who gave off the distinct energy of competitive professionals. The announcer stopped in front of us with enormous enthusiasm. "Names?" "Nora Callahan," she said steadily. "Caleb Hartley. And how do you two know each other?" Nora glanced at me briefly. "We're neighbors." The crowd produced a collective, delighted sound. The announcer grinned like Christmas had come early. I leaned slightly toward Nora. "How are you doing?" "Terrified," she whispered. "Same." She was quiet for a second. Then she said very softly, "But I trust you." Something in my chest pulled tight. "Contestants!" The announcer lifted his hand. "Face your partners." Nora stepped closer. Close enough that I could smell her shampoo, something soft like warm vanilla and cedar. Close enough to notice the faint amber flecks in her gray-green eyes. My pulse picked up considerably. "We don't have to do this," I murmured. "I know." Her hand came up and rested lightly against my jaw. "But I want to." "Ready," shouted the announcer. Nora's thumb traced the line of my cheekbone. "Kiss." And then her lips met mine. Everything fell away. The crowd, the stage, the contest, all of it vanished in an instant. For the first breath, the kiss was careful, almost hesitant, just the softest point of contact. And then Nora's fingers slipped into my hair. Something inside me gave way completely. I pulled her closer, and the kiss deepened naturally, slowly. The way a river finds its path, not forced, just inevitable. Her lips were warm and certain, and they felt impossibly familiar, like something my heart had been quietly memorizing without my permission. Somewhere far away, the crowd was cheering. The announcer was narrating. But it all sounded like it was happening on the other side of a wall because I was aware of only 2 things. Nora's hand at the back of my neck and the way she leaned into me like she had never been afraid. That was when the fear arrived. Not fear of the crowd. Fear of what this meant. Because you don't kiss someone like this by accident. You kiss someone like this when you've been holding something back for a long, long time. The minutes stretched, couples around us stepped apart, and the crowd roared each time. Nora didn't move. Neither did I. The kiss shifted, quieter now, more like breathing together, and it stopped feeling like a competition entirely. It felt like a conversation. The kind you have without any words. This is real. This has always been real. Folks, we are down to 3 couples. The announcer called out. The crowd exploded. Nora's fingers tightened in my hair. Against my lips I felt her smile, the smallest, softest thing, and the sensation did something irreversible to my heart. So I kissed her back, deeper this time, and she met me there like she had been waiting for exactly this. Another couple stepped apart. The announcer's voice cracked with excitement. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our final 2. 6 minutes later, it was over. We have a winner, he bellowed. The crowd erupted. Nora and I finally separated, both breathing harder than the occasion probably warranted. I imagined I looked considerably worse. The announcer pressed a gift card into my hand. 6 minutes and 43 seconds. I believe that might be a record. I barely processed the words because Nora was looking at me with the same question that was burning through me. What just happened? Speech. Speech, the crowd chanted. Absolutely not, I said. People laughed. And then Lily came tearing up the stage steps. You won, she launched herself at me, arms around my neck. That was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. I held her automatically, still somewhere in the middle of processing the last 7 minutes of my existence. Nora stepped back, putting distance between us. Somehow, that hurt more than I expected. Lily was electric with energy. Maya's mom said it was the most romantic thing she'd ever seen at a fair, a beat. That's my friend Maya, not... I know, I said. Nora laughed softly. Apparently we're the talk of Cedarville now. But there was a thread of nerves in her voice that I recognized because I was feeling the same thing. When the crowd drifted toward the pie-eating contest and Lily ran off with her friends, it was suddenly just the 2 of us near the lemonade cart, neither looking directly at the other. That was... Nora started. Stop. Started again. Unexpected. Yeah? Silence stretched between us. The kind that means both people are thinking the same thing, and neither one wants to be the first to say it. Nora looked down at her hands. We probably shouldn't have this conversation right now. What do you mean? She met my eyes. That kiss meant something. My heart knocked against my ribs. And I want either of us to say something we'll regret because we're standing in the middle of a fairground and our emotions are all over the place. I swallowed. That's a reasonable position. I'm usually reasonable. A small, sad smile. Later, I agreed. Her fingers brushed mine, just briefly, just for a second. Then she turned and walked back toward the library booth at the other end of the fair, and I stood watching her go, feeling like the axis of my life had just tilted 3 degrees. Lily found me a few minutes later and pulled me toward the edge of the fairgrounds, away from the noise. Dad, yeah, you look like you're doing math in your head. Thanks. Complicated math. I crouched down to her level. Lily, I need to tell you something. Her eyebrows lifted. That kiss wasn't just a game. I know, she said. That stopped me. You do? Obviously, she tilted her head. You like her? I opened my mouth to deflect. Then I closed it again. Because the truth had been sitting in my chest for longer than I'd admitted, and for once I was tired of arguing with it. I don't know what happens now, I said quietly. Things like this can get complicated. But you like her, Lily repeated, with the patience of someone who has already arrived at the answer and is simply waiting for you to catch up. It doesn't always work just because the feelings are there. Lily crossed her arms. You're overthinking again. That was almost word for word what Nora would have said. I exhaled. Maybe. She looked at me with those dark, careful eyes that sometimes seemed much older than 7. Are you scared? The question landed right in the center of my chest. Yeah, I said. I am. Why? Because loving someone again meant risking loss again. Because Lily had already survived losing her mother. Because if I let Nora in and something went wrong, Lily might lose her too. How do you explain that to a child? Because when you care about someone a lot, I said slowly, you're afraid of hurting them. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Mom loved you. My throat went tight. She did. And when you love someone, you want them to be happy. She squeezed my hand. She'd want you to stop being scared. The words hit somewhere deep, in a place that had been sealed off for a long time. My daughter, this 7-year-old who still wore mismatched socks and negotiated for extra waffles, understood my heart better than I did. But one question still haunted me. Did Nora feel the same way? Or had I just broken something irreplaceable? I spotted her almost an hour later. She was sitting alone on a wooden bench at the edge of the fairgrounds, facing the lake. Her shoulders were drawn up slightly, the posture of someone thinking too hard. I hesitated. The safe choice was to let it go. Pretend the contest had been nothing more than a funny story. But another part of me, the part that had been silent for 4 years, knew something clearly. If I walked away now, I would regret it, so I walked toward her. She looked up when my shadow crossed the grass. Hey, I said quietly. Hey. She slid over on the bench, making room. We sat together without speaking for a moment, the noise of the fair behind us. The lake silver and still ahead. That kiss, Nora said finally. Yeah. I wasn't expecting it to feel like that. Me neither. She turned to face me. Her expression was serious now, stripped of its usual warmth. I think we need to be honest with each other. I think so too. She took a slow breath. I moved next door 3 years ago to start my life over. My marriage ended and I needed a new place and a new beginning. I nodded. What you probably don't know, she continued, voice soft, is that I started falling for you almost from the beginning. That hit me like a wave. You did? She smiled, but it was tinged with something bittersweet. You were raising Lily by yourself? Building furniture, fixing your house, figuring it all out on your own. She looked down at her fingers. You were quiet and careful and a little broken. I let out a short, surprised laugh. That's accurate. And I respected that, she said. You had walls for good reasons? I didn't want to push. She looked back up. So I stayed your friend. But today changed something. Her voice dropped. You can't kiss someone the way you kissed me and pretend it doesn't mean anything. The truth of that sentence settled between us. Nora. I ran a hand through my hair. I'm scared. I know. I spent 4 years trying to make sure. Lily didn't lose anyone else. She nodded slowly. And if you let me in, if she gets attached, and something goes wrong, I finished. We sat quietly. Then Nora said something that shifted the air between us entirely. You're trying to protect her from pain. But Caleb, she's already survived pain. I looked at her. You can't protect her from life, she said gently. All you can do is show her that love is worth the risk. She'd want you to stop being scared. Lily said something like that earlier, I said. Nora smiled. She's a remarkable kid. She really is. The sun was sinking lower over the water. The music from the fair floated to us faintly. Then Nora spoke again. There's something else. What? I love Lily. Her voice was clear and steady. She's funny and stubborn and braver than she knows. She reminds me of you. A pause. That poor kid. Exactly, I said. She looked at me directly. And I love you. I have for a long time. I was prepared to keep that to myself. Why? Because I didn't think you'd ever be ready. I looked down at my hands, then back at her. I'm still scared, I admitted. That's okay. But I'm more scared of losing this. Her breath caught. I want to try. I want to take you to dinner. I want to hold your hand without it being because of a fair contest. I want to see where this goes. Nora's eyes filled with tears. You're serious, completely. I reached for her hand slowly. Slow is good, she said. Slow is fine with me. She squeezed my fingers. But Caleb? Yeah? Her smile broke fully. We already kissed for nearly 7 minutes in front of everyone in town. I think slow might be a little late, I laughed. A real laugh, from somewhere I hadn't visited in a while. She leaned forward then and kissed me again, soft, warm, no stage, no announcer, no crowd. Just us and the sound of the lake. When we finally pulled apart, she rested her forehead lightly against mine. That, she whispered, was better than the contest. By a significant margin, I agreed. We walked back toward the fair together, and Lily spotted us before we'd made it 20 feet. She stopped. She looked at our hands. She looked at our faces. "Are you two together now?" she demanded. Nora and I exchanged a look. "Yeah," I said. "We are." Lily threw both arms in the air. "I knew it." I literally knew it from the beginning. She grabbed Nora's free hand and pulled her forward, already talking about funnel cake and what prizes were left at the ring toss. And something settled inside me, quietly, steadily, something I hadn't felt in 4 years. Not relief exactly. Something better than that. Hope. If you're enjoying this story, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe to Sif Stories so you never miss a story like this one. Now let's see how it ends. Over the following months, things changed slowly, the way seasons change, not all at once, but unmistakably. Nora started coming over for dinner. She helped Lily with reading projects and sat at our kitchen table on rainy afternoons. Laughing at things I said that probably weren't that funny, we took walks around the lake. I brought her coffee when she was working late at the library. Nothing was rushed. Nothing was forced. Just small, ordinary moments stacking themselves into something solid. Then one evening, Lily handed me a drawing. 3 stick figures stood in front of a house with pine trees on either side. A man, a small girl, a woman with copper-red hair. At the top, in careful, crooked letters, "My family." I stared at it for a long time, and I understood something, finally, that I hadn't been able to see clearly before. Love hadn't replaced anything. It hadn't erased Maya. It hadn't undone the years of grief or the silence that had once swallowed our house whole. It had simply made room beside all of it. That's the thing about second chances that no one tells you. They don't rewrite your story. They don't erase the chapters that broke you. They simply pick up where the hardest part left off and continue. And sometimes, if you're willing to be a little afraid, and brave enough anyway, the person meant for your next chapter has been right next door the whole time.